If you're new to Anima, then this tutorial is for you. In just 10 minutes, we'll show you how to create your first animation by adding walking, standing and sitting characters to this scene. In doing so, we'll introduce you to the essentials of the Anima workflow and help you to get up and running fast with simple projects. First of all, you need to decide the areas of your scene that will be populated by characters. So before diving into Anima, we start out in 3ds Max, Cinema 4D or whatever 3D app you prefer. To help guide you in placing animated characters, you need to identify and select all the geometry that will in some way have an influence on the positioning of the characters. In this scene, for example, I want to create characters that walk along these pavements, so I should select their geometry. I also need to make sure that characters don't walk through walls or street furniture, so I need to select those too. Finally, you should select any props that the actors will interact with, such as the seats in this bus shelter. With all of these selected, export them to an FBX, OBJ or 3ds file. And now that I have the geometry I need, we're ready to open Anima. First, I need a new project. These are used to organise scenes and manage settings and assets. You can create a new project directly from the welcome screen by clicking the Create New Project button. The new project window will open where you can enter a name for your project and set the save path. Next, I need to choose the scene units to use for this project. Take care, this can't be changed once the project's been created, and it should match the scene units used in your 3ds Max or Cinema 4D file. Finally, click New and a project is created containing a single empty scene. I could just use this one, but to illustrate how to create scenes, I'll create a new one by clicking on the plus button at the bottom of the scenes list. Double-click the title to rename it, and then click the Open button to start editing. Before adding characters, I need to import the background model exported at the beginning of the tutorial. You can do this by either going to the main menu, then Scene, then Import Background Model, or simply by right-clicking in the viewport or project panel and selecting Import Background Model. You'll be asked to pick a file. In this example, I'll pick the FBX file exported from 3ds Max earlier, and then click Open. The Import Model menu will open with a few options. In most cases, you can use the default settings, but you should be sure to select system units that match your 3ds Max or Cinema 4D source scene and click Import. You'll now have a background model in your scene that can be used to place your actors. If necessary, the background model can be sliced vertically using Anima's clipping features. The bar on the right-hand side of the viewport represents altitude. The lower you drag the bar, the more of your model is removed. It's designed to allow you to quickly place actors in multi-level scenes, giving you access to parts of a building that would otherwise be inaccessible. To quickly access preset heights, you can also create markers on the clipping bar. This feature is particularly useful for architectural visualization, as it allows you to split your building according to different floors. To add a marker for the current clipping height, either click on the plus sign at the top of the clipping bar, double-click on the clipping bar, or right-click on the clipping bar, and select Add Point at Current Height. Once a clipping marker has been created, it can be renamed by right-clicking on the point and selecting Rename. When you hover the mouse over this point, the name will be displayed, and you can click the point to set the clipping height at this level. In this file, I don't need to worry about clipping, so I'll just drag the bar all the way to the top. The walkway tool provides an easy-to-use and intuitive method to add walking and running characters to your scenes. Walkways offer you exceptional control to achieve the exact distribution of characters you need. Actors can even be adjusted individually to fine-tune your scenes and help you direct the perfect animation. To create a walkway, select the walkway tool found on the left-hand side of the 3D viewport and click on the background model to define the starting point of the path. Keep clicking to add additional points. Notice that Anima is able to automatically detect stairs and slopes. When you're done, right-click to finish drawing. To add characters to the walkway, make sure it's selected and click Generate from the Properties panel. The number of actors is specified using the Actor Count property. If you change this, you'll need to click Generate again to update the results. By default, all of the actors in the current library are randomly applied to the walkway. If you'd like to specify which actors can be used, just drag them from the library onto the crowd list and click Generate to update. So far so good, but this walkway is a bit too narrow. To adjust the width of the entire walkway, make sure it is not selected and move the mouse pointer over the light blue edge of the path until the cursor changes to resize mode and the border is highlighted. Then click and drag to adjust the width of the walkway. You can also adjust the width of individual sections of the walkway by selecting it and then hovering the mouse over the light blue edge of a path section until the cursor changes to resize mode. You then click and drag to resize just the highlighted section. By doing this, you can change the width of the walkway at any point along its length. The walkway is now in the right place and it's the right size. For more control, Anima gives you settings to determine how your characters are distributed on a walkway, either using presets or by creating your own placement patterns using the cross distribution, longitudinal distribution and actor spacing range parameters. To use the built-in presets to control the placement of characters, select the walkway and click the buttons at the top of the Properties panel. Alternatively, to control placement manually, use the cross distribution parameter. The range starts at 0% in the centre and moves outwards to -100% on one side of the walkway and 100% on the opposite side of the walkway. To control the starting point of the characters along the length of the walkway, use the longitudinal distribution parameter. The range starts at 0% at the beginning of the path and goes up to 100% at the end. Characters can also walk together in groups of 2 or more. To do this, you increase the clustering property. The higher the percentage, the larger the groups that are created. At 100%, just one large group is created, and at 0%, characters walk alone. The shape of groups is controlled using the distribution ratio property. Negative values create distributions that stretch longitudinally, and positive values create distributions that stretch laterally. Finally, you can control the spacing between grouped characters using distribution radius. Low values will place characters close together and large values will space them far apart. Below this, the path direction mode setting determines the direction that characters move on walkways. You have 3 options here, either forward, backwards or both. A huge variety of distribution patterns are possible using combinations of just these few settings. The pedestrians are complete. Let's add some passengers waiting at this bus stop. There are 2 ways to add seated characters to scenes. You can either add chair objects and then add actors manually, or you can create a table object and use this to manage multiple chairs automatically. Let's take a look at both. First, to create a new chair, just drag it from the objects library to the viewport and then rotate the chair so the wider end faces towards the front. To add a character to that chair, just drag one from the actors list onto the chair object. That's really all there is to it. Alternatively, if you need to add multiple chairs, it's better to use the table object. This enables you to quickly add multiple chairs and takes care of placing and randomizing characters all automatically. To use this object type, click and drag the table object found in the Library Presets panel onto the 3D viewport, then go to the Properties panel. Select the Create Chair tool and click in the viewport to place a single chair, or click and drag in the viewport to create a chair and then adjust its rotation. Repeat this until you've added the chairs you need and right-click to exit creation mode. To add actors, drag them from the Library Actors panel to the Crowd list, or leave it empty to automatically use the full library. Finally, enter the number of characters using the Actor Count property, or to use all the chairs, turn on Fill All Slots, then click Generate to create the characters. Area objects provide a simple way to place and simulate groups of static characters in your scenes, with advanced control over the placement and rotation of characters. There are 2 possible modes: grid mode, which distributes actors in the cells of a highly configurable grid, or marker mode, that allows you to create sociable characters that congregate around points that can be placed anywhere in your scene. To illustrate how these modes work, first we'll add some characters waiting to cross this road using grid mode. Click and drag the square area preset found in the Library Presets panel into the 3D viewport and position it in the scene. To change the size of the area, go to the Properties panel and set the dimensions of the square using the Area Size properties. If you'd prefer a circular area, you can do this by changing the Area mode to Circle. To create an area with an arbitrary shape, change the mode back to Square and then select a vertex. You can then use the 2D transform gizmo to move the vertex to a new position. To refine the shape, you'll need to add new vertices. To do this, click the Refine Polygon tool found at the top of the Properties panel and move the mouse over an edge in the 3D viewport. You'll see a live preview of the new shape then. Just click to add the new vertex and right-click to finish editing. Adding actors is the same as walkways. Either drag individual actors to the area or automatically create them by dragging from the Library Actors panel to the Crowd list in the Properties panel. Or leave it empty to automatically use the full library. Then click Generate. The Actors Count property defines the number of characters, or if you want to fill all available spaces in the area, turn on Fill All Slots. Don't forget to click Generate to see your changes. Now let's look at placing characters with markers. In this mode, characters are randomly placed between two concentric rings surrounding one or more reference points. To use this mode, create a new area or select an existing one from the scene, go to the Properties panel and change Enable Placement Grid to No. To add a marker, click on the Add Reference Point button at the top of the Properties panel. This tool allows you to add points simply by clicking in the viewport. Keep clicking to add additional points, then right-click or deselect the Add Reference Points tool to exit creation mode. The size of the placement rings around object points is set using the Actor Cluster Inner-Outer Radius property. Characters will be distributed between these two rings. When you're done, just click Generate to create the characters. You control the direction characters face using one of three methods. Either rotate them randomly, use the grid to make them all face in the same direction, or use object points as look-at targets. Random mode speaks for itself, but to create characters that face in a single direction, you should set focus mode to grid, then use the rotate placement grid property to control the direction the actors face. If you'd like the characters to face in multiple specific directions, then you can use focal points. To do this, set focus mode to focus, and just like before, use the Add Object Point tool and click anywhere in the 3D viewport to add a look-at target. Keep clicking to add additional points, and right-click or deselect the tool to exit creation mode. If there are multiple points, characters will rotate to face the point that's nearest to them. We've now added standing, seated and walking characters, so let's call this animation complete and re-import it back into Max. Save the project by going to the File menu or using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+S, and then switch back to your 3D app. In 3D Studio Max, go to File menu and click on Import, or in Cinema 4D, go to the Plugins menu and click on Import Anima 2 Scene. Find and select your project and click Open. The Material Adapter window opens. Just leave the settings on Regular Config and click Apply Materials to import the Anima scene. You now have a 3D character animation in your scene created in record time. We hope this helps you to get started with your first project in Anima. In upcoming tutorials, we'll be looking at these tools in a lot more depth, including how to import your own characters and motion clips. In the meantime, please feel free to check out our other tutorials and comprehensive documentation for more tips.